The story of Job, found in the book of Job, is one of the most profound explorations of human suffering, faith, and theodicy, the question of why a just God allows innocent people to endure pain. Unlike narratives of the patriarchs or kings, Job's account does not focus on historical events or national destiny, but on the inner life of a single individual grappling with tragedy, morality, and divine mystery. It challenges readers to confront uncomfortable questions about justice, suffering, and the limits of human understanding. Job is introduced as blameless and upright, one who feared God and shunned evil. He is wealthy, with a large family and abundant livestock, and is respected as a moral exemplar. The story begins with a scene in the heavenly court, where Satan, the accuser, appears before God. Satan challenges Job's integrity, arguing that Job's faith is motivated solely by his prosperity and protection. If these blessings were removed, Job would curse God. This sets up the central question of the narrative. Can a person remain faithful when confronted with profound suffering? God permits Satan to test Job, with the restriction that his life must be preserved. What follows is a series of devastating calamities. In rapid succession, Job loses his livestock, servants, and all 10 of his children. A powerful storm destroys his herds, raiders kill his servants, and a building collapse kills his children. Later, Job himself is afflicted with painful sores over his entire body. The text emphasizes the suddenness and totality of these losses, underscoring the depth of Job's trial. Despite his intense suffering, Job initially responds with remarkable composure. He mourns, tears his robe, and worships God, saying, "Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I will depart. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. May the name of the Lord be praised." This response highlights Job's unwavering reverence and faith, even amidst profound loss. Yet, as the suffering continues, Job's anguish becomes more complex. He laments, questions, and expresses deep despair, asking why God allows the innocent to suffer while the wicked prosper. Job's friends Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar enter the narrative and engage him in extended dialogues. They argue, based on prevailing theological assumptions, that suffering is always a consequence of sin. If Job suffers, they claim, he must have done something wrong. Job rejects this simplistic explanation. He insists on his innocence, emphasizing that he has lived a life of moral integrity. These debates form the bulk of the poetic sections of the book and explore themes of justice, retribution, and divine sovereignty. Job's friends represent conventional wisdom that equates suffering with guilt, while Job embodies the human struggle to reconcile faith with inexplicable tragedy. A younger character, Elihu, later speaks, offering a different perspective. He suggests that suffering can be a form of divine instruction or refinement, meant to teach humility, patience, or insight. While Elihu's speech does not provide definitive answers, it introduces the idea that suffering may serve purposes beyond human comprehension, highlighting the limits of human reasoning in understanding God's plans. The climax occurs when God speaks directly to Job from a whirlwind. God's speeches emphasize the vastness, complexity, and order of creation, contrasting human limitations with divine wisdom. Rather than providing direct answers about the reasons for Job's suffering, God invites Job to consider the incomprehensibility of divine governance, the intricacies of the cosmos, the behavior of animals, the cycles of nature, and the hidden workings of creation. Through this encounter, Job gains a renewed perspective, recognizing that human understanding is finite and that God's purposes transcend human reasoning. In the final chapter, Job humbly acknowledges his limitations and repents for questioning God, not because he was guilty of wrongdoing, but because he recognizes the vastness of divine wisdom. God restores Job's fortunes, giving him twice as much as he had before, blessing him with new children, abundant livestock, and a long life. Importantly, the restoration underscores that faithfulness amid suffering is ultimately honored, though it does not erase the pain experienced. Theologically, Job addresses fundamental questions about why bad things happen to good people. It rejects overly simplistic equations of sin and suffering, emphasizing that suffering is not always a punishment for wrongdoing. Instead, suffering can test, refine, or reveal the depth of faith. The story underscores that human beings cannot always understand divine purposes, and that trust in God involves acknowledging mystery and limitation. Historically, some scholars view Job as a literary composition rather than a strictly historical account, using poetic and dialogical forms to explore universal human experiences. Its themes, loss, injustice, questioning, and restoration resonate across cultures and time periods, making Job one of the most enduring and relatable figures in world literature. Personally, I find the story of Job deeply humbling and comforting. It teaches that suffering is not a sign of moral failure, and that it is human to question and struggle in the face of tragedy. Job's honesty, perseverance, and eventual humility highlight the importance of resilience, integrity, and trust. I also find it powerful that the narrative does not offer easy answers. Life often presents challenges without clear explanations, and Job reminds us that faith is not dependent on understanding every event, but on maintaining trust and moral steadfastness, even when the reasons are hidden. To me, Job's story is a timeless reflection on human vulnerability, the pursuit of justice, and the transformative potential of faith in the midst of suffering.